Jazakallah khair. We appreciate being invited. We appreciate you coming out on a Sunday. And now I want to give Terry an opportunity to share with us his journey. He came from Phoenix, Arizona, a man who joined the United States Army, stationed in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, guarding the prisoners, becomes Muslim. How did that happen? Please welcome our guest, my friend, Mr. Terry Holdbrooks. Takbir.
Terry's feeling lazy. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So I'm going to make a lot of jokes in my talk because I'm going to be talking about torture and abuse and very, very awful subjects. And when you make jokes, it lightens up the situation, it makes it a bit easier, it helps everybody feel better. Ultimately, it's important that you're just able to listen, not that you take some great significant meaning, just that you can listen. So I make jokes every once in a while. I have to put on another piece of technology. Hold on. How's that? Everything good? Alhamdulillah. Let us begin. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona in July of 1983. I have lived in Phoenix, Arizona for all of my life. My parents were very young. My mother was 17 when I was born. My father was 18. He had just recently been locked up for a possession of marijuana charge. The first 2 years that I was alive, my father was actually locked up. When he got out, he tried very hard with the best of knowledge, the best of guidance that he had been given in his youth to be a good father and to be a good husband. This involved a lot of drug dealing and many other problems that you obviously wouldn't want in a home. But I can say I was never molested as a child. I was never hungry as a child. But infidelity and alcoholism and drug abuse and neglect, these were things that were very common in the home that I grew up in. I'm not saying these things to speak poor of my parents. I just want for you to understand the type of a background with which I come from. When I was 7, my parents decided that they both needed to clean up. My mother was an intravenous meth user at that point, and my father was again, getting ready to go to jail. So they decided they needed a divorce, and they needed to separate, they needed to clean up, and neither one of them felt that they could take care of a child by themselves. They sent me to live with my grandparents. My grandparents, being divided upon religion, didn't tell me that I had to now become a Christian or I have to now become a Catholic. Keep going. It's just awkward, you're up there, you're talking, and then the microphone goes away, and you're supposed to keep talking. Okay. I'll talk over there. It's good to laugh, though. You wake up when you laugh. Trust me. I've been doing this for years now. I have a little bit of practice. It's not my first rodeo. There we go. They didn't tell me that I had to be a Christian or that I had to be a Catholic. They were divided upon religion themselves. They didn't agree which version of Christianity was the right version of Christianity, and they didn't tell me that I had to be one of the other. They told me to treat people the way that I would want to be treated, and to go out into the world and to learn about others. To not be afraid to learn, to go out and to ask people questions and learn about others, and that I would find a way of life that would work for me. I would find my path, my guidance. I would find my way. I think in a home that's divided upon religion, that's probably the best advice that you can give to the child. Treat people the way that you want to be treated and go out and learn. I took it very sincerely. I graduated high school as a child of divorce and a broken home. I graduated high school a year and a half early. I then went on to a trade school and completed a degree in audio engineering. While I was going to school for audio engineering, 9/11 had occurred. And unlike most people who grew up and were old enough to remember 9/11, I remember that day specifically. My grandmother came and she woke me up and she told me to come watch the television. And I get up and I see this plane hitting the tower over and over and over, and nobody knows what's going on. They're talking about, was this a training mission gone wrong? Have these planes been stolen? Are UFOs controlling our planes? They had no idea what was going on that day. And I was just like, oh, I don't want to hear about this, whatever. Stuff like this happens all the time. That was my thought. Tragedies like this, incidents like this happens all the time in every other country in the world. What's the big deal? I couldn't understand it. I went back to sleep. And in the next 2.5 years of my life, 9/11 was on the news every day. It was unavoidable. But it didn't serve as a motivation for me for joining the service. I thought about my life after I had completed my trade school, and I didn't feel that I had really grown up enough. I didn't feel that I had matured or that I had become an adult. I was 18, I had graduated high school, I had a degree, I was doing this, that, and the other, but I didn't feel ready yet. I didn't feel confident and strong and prepared. I was seeing this commercial one night, and I hear this jingle, and it says, "Be all that you can be." Whoever thought of that slogan, I hope that guy got a big pay raise, because I guarantee you hundreds, if not thousands of people enlisted in the Army because of that one slogan, "Be all that you can be." I woke up the next morning, I was in the shower, I'm washing up, I'm singing that song, I'm like, yeah, I want to be all that I can be. That's it, that's what I want to do. I'm going to go to the Army. This will be a good idea. I can put it down on an application for the rest of my life. I'll always get a job. I'll have a good credit. I'll get a loan. I'll get this. I'll get that. It seemed like a natural progression, and it seemed like a great idea. And ultimately, it was going to provide me with more money to pursue my education further, and that was what was driving me. I wanted to get college money. So I get all my stuff together, and I go to the recruiter, and I slap it all down. My high school diploma, trade school degree, license, or everything. I put it all down, and I say, "Hey, I want to join the Army." And he kind of smiles, and, that's good. We don't need you. You don't need me? What? Yeah, we don't need you. That's okay. And I walked outside of the recruiters, and I couldn't figure out why this man said, we don't need you. We're going to war with Iraq for whatever reason. The government thinks that there's this link between Iraq and Al-Qaeda, and it might simply just be the fact that there's a Q in both of the names, and that might be the only link between them, but we're going to go to war with Iraq, so why would this man say no? And while I was lighting up a cigarette, I saw my reflection in the mirror, and I suppose when you're covered in tattoos from head to toe at the age of 18, and you have all these piercings and blue hair and stuff like I did, you're not what the Army is looking for. You're not what a recruiter is looking for. They see that and they see trouble. They see somebody who doesn't conform. They see a rebel. That's a bad investment. I understand this pathology. I get it. I went home. I shaved my head. I bought a nice long sleeve shirt. I came back a week later. I said, "Hey, I want to join the Army." I remember you. That's a nice shirt. Looks pretty sharp. We still don't need you. That's okay. I was working at Taco Bell at that point in time. Anybody in this room ever worked in the food service industry? Tonight when I make dua, I will pray for you people. Because if you have worked in the food service industry, you have seen hell on earth. I go back to the recruiter, third time, lay it all down. He says, no. That's okay, man. Maybe try the Marines. I go fourth time, he allows for me to take my ASVAB. This is a government standardized test that allows for the government to figure out how they can best exploit you. If you take this test, you don't score too well, they'll likely put you into the motor pool. You take this test and you score in the median, they might make you a linguist or an interrogator. If you take this test and you score very well, you have 212 career choices to choose from. I don't know what I scored on this test, but I know that I went downtown, took it, I went out to dinner, and I came home. When I woke up the next morning, I already had a missed voicemail from the recruiter, but I didn't want to talk to him yet. I went and signed on to this thing called myspace.com. It's what we had before Facebook and before Twitter, for those of you who are, 20 or younger. And I put this comment up about taking the ASVAB, and I wonder what I score, and I bet I score badly. I didn't think too much of myself, and my recruiter calls me again, and he likes the comment, and all of a sudden he became my best friend. He wanted to take me out to breakfast that day. We go out to breakfast, and he's whining and dining me, and he sits me down and he asks me, "Terry, what is it that you want to do in the Army?" And I said, "I want to kill people and get paid for it." That's what you guys do, right? You're going to pay me? Terry, I need a serious answer from you. You did very well, and you have a lot of choices. What is it that you would like to do? And that's when I made the mistake of saying, which job is giving a bonus? When you say what job is giving a bonus to a military recruiter, that is honestly the sweetest words that they can hear in any day of their life. It would be the same as if Brother Khalil came walking in right now and he said, hey, everybody, I want to be a Muslim. What do I do? Half of us would just be running to him, telling him how to say a shahada. We'd be excited about it. We'd be fighting and pushing each other. No, let me do it. That's what it's like for a recruiter when you say what job is giving a bonus. His eyes lit up, and for a $2,000 bonus, I became a military police officer in the United States Army. I had no interest in being a police officer. I had no interest in being a cop. I don't like cops. I don't want anything to do with authority. I don't even like responsibility. Ask Khalil, who books my flights and my hotels. I don't do this stuff. I can't do it. It's just better to let somebody smarter handle it. So I enlisted in August of 2002. Was stationed in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Completed my training in January. Married my first wife in March, and I found out shortly after getting married that I was going to Guantanamo. I didn't really think to myself to go home and Google Guantanamo. I imagined that the Army would educate me about Guantanamo. They would educate me about the job, what I would be doing, who the people were. They're telling us all of these words often, that this is Al-Qaeda, this is the Taliban, this is the terrorists, and the worst of the worst. You're going to be guarding all these people, so I imagine we're going to receive some type of training for this. I think to myself, you just got married, spend time with your wife. I spend as much time with her as I can. It goes by quickly, and we begin our training. The training was very haphazard. We did not train in an actual prison. We trained in a fake prison, which we built. We did not train with the manual for Guantanamo because that manual wasn't allowed to leave the island. If it left the island and it fell into the wrong hands, it would prove that Guantanamo existed. Inshallah, none of you in this room knew what Guantanamo was in 2002 or 2003. The individuals who were training us had never worked in this environment. They knew nothing about Guantanamo or Islam. This training was not adequate. We did not know what we were getting ourselves into. But the Army did a great job teaching us about Islam. As we were boarding our plane to fly to Guantanamo, we were in Fort Dix, New Jersey. This should have been about an 8-hour flight. We landed 45 minutes later. And I kind of remember looking at the airplane, are we missing a wing or something? Why are we getting off the plane? And there's all these tall buildings, and it's really smoggy and dirty and whatnot, and it turns out that we had landed in New York City. Our commander had arranged for us to go to Ground Zero that day. He wanted us to walk around Ground Zero and see all the comments, see all the destruction and the rubble, and to see the flowers, the photographs of the people who had died there. There's a very desired effect when you do something like this. This is like taking a Palestinian to the Gaza Strip. This is like taking a Jewish individual to any of the concentration camps in Europe. You do something like this for a reason. And as we were getting back onto the plane, he tells us, I want you to remember what you saw here today. I want you to remember the destruction and the rubble. I want you to remember the innocent 3,000 lives that America lost here. I want you to remember those men and women and children who we lost for no reason. We didn't begin this war, but we are going to end this war. Remember what Islam did to us here. So as I said, when it came to teaching us about Islam, the Army taught us everything that they wanted us to know about Islam to do our job. As we were flying down to Guantanamo, I was thinking about what our commander had said, and I was thinking about the words that I had been hearing. Obviously, Al-Qaeda and Taliban and Mujahideen, they had been saying these a lot. These were in the news. But when we were conducting our training, we were hearing words like sand nigger, and dirt farmer, and camel jockey, and you don't realize the type of effect that these words have on you until obviously much later after the situation has occurred. But even in the training, when you're using words that dehumanize somebody like this, it's a conditioning so that when you arrive, you already see them as objects, not humans, objects. Now, as we're flying, I'm thinking, the Mujahideen, the Taliban, the worst of the worst. I'm thinking in my mind, these guys, they got to be big. They got to be buff and muscular. They got to be, able to squat 500 pounds and capable of carrying a horse on their shoulders, and they got big beards, and they're all going to have swords and shields. And I was thinking of Lawrence of Arabia. That's what I think of when I think of the Mujahideen. I think of Charleston Heston and Anthony Quinn. And we land in Guantanamo and we start our first tour of the camp, and I was really disappointed because there weren't any swords and there weren't any horses. And none of the men were able to squat 500 pounds. It was really not much different from this side of the room. I had 780 men from 46 different countries all around the world, the youngest of them being 12, the oldest of them being 77. And the unifying aspect amongst all of these men was that they had simply said La ilaha illa Allah at some point in time in their life. It's not that they were Salafi, not that they were Wahhabi, not that they had books from Muhammad Sayyid al-Qahtani or anyone else. They were simply Muslims. As I'd mentioned, our training was very inadequate. When we arrived, we didn't know what we were doing. We made mistakes often. And when we would make a mistake, when the guard makes a mistake, it's the detainee's fault. It's always the detainee's fault. When the guard forgets to handcuff the detainee and then the superior sees that the detainee isn't handcuffed properly, it's always the detainee's fault. That's an escape attempt. What happens when an escape attempt happens? You cover the detainee in pepper spray, 4 men in riot gear run in and slam him to the ground, maybe break a couple bones in the process, and then you shave his beard and you leave him hogtied out in the concrete for an hour or two until he calms down. Because the guard forgot to shackle him properly. So the detainees taught us almost immediately how to do our job. It was in their best interest to teach us how to do our job. And we had other individuals who were also coming around. We had the camp commander, we had the supervisor, we had General Jeffrey Miller. We had individuals who would come and they would give us orders. They would tell us to uphold liberty and stand for justice and be America. And then we had military intelligence and other foreign intelligence parties coming, and they would tell us some things too. They would tell us about specific detainees who were important to them, and they would say, I want you to move this detainee tonight at 8 o'clock, and then at 8:30, and then 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, and so on. I want you to do that for the next 4 or 5 days. I want you to move him every half hour from a different cell to a different cell, from a different block to a different block. We called this a frequent flyer program. The idea was to keep men up for upwards of a month, ultimately to cause them to sign whatever statement you want them to sign, so that you can build a case against them. Everything that you've read in the news has happened. Whether it was Fox that you read it in, CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC, wherever you get your news, if you've read it in the news about Guantanamo, no matter how outrageous you think it was, it's happened. I assure you it's happened. And many, many worse things that we don't need to get into. Being that we're in the house of Allah, there's no benefit that would come from talking about them. I sort of felt a conflict of interest almost immediately. We landed and I didn't feel right about this. Nothing about this environment felt right. I'm told that America is supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave, and that we represent equality and justice and all of these good traits. I've been told this all of my life. And now I land in this place that is literally a prison, unlike any prison anywhere else in the world. It is a black ops site. What we are doing there is not patriotic. It's not American. Nothing about this is freedom. Nothing about this is liberty. And I can't deal with it. I can't deal with what we're doing. I can't deal with the orders that I'm being told. I can't deal with being a participant and an active individual in torture and abuse. Nobody wakes up and wants to do this. You think of Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, any dictator you could possibly think of, they do not wake up in the morning and think to themselves, I want to go torture people today. It's not a normal human reaction. It's just not there. So many of us, myself included, became alcoholics quite quickly. If we wanted to get sleep without having nightmares of men screaming, without feeling the guilt and the shame and the grief of what we were doing, we would drink ourselves into oblivion. I mean, this would usually involve at least a fifth of vodka, a big bottle of vodka daily. And it's a horrible way to live. You just cope. You go from bottle to bottle, doing what you have to do in the day and then drinking it away in the evening. And then I started ultimately thinking about suicide. I started talking to my platoon sergeant. I tell my platoon sergeant that I'm thinking about suicide and I request to be working somewhere else. You don't have to work with the detainees. They can put you in different places. You could be doing something else. He says, no, Terry, you're vital. We need you. We need you. You got to stay. We need you. Have a few more beers. You'll be okay. I tell my platoon leader, sir, with all due respect, I need to go to the doctor. I need to see mental health. We can't do it, Terry. We can't lose you. We need you. Have a few more beers. I go to the commander, the top person, the highest up that I can go. Sir, I'm thinking about suicide. I want to go to mental health. Please let me go talk to the doctor. Well, Terry, if I let you go and talk to the doctor, then I have to let you go. I got to let you go. And I got to let you go. And then everybody's gone talking about their feelings. Who's going to be here to do the mission? Who's going to get the job done? Have a few more beers. Drive on. I was miserable. The people I was serving with were miserable. We were in a habitual pattern of alcoholism and depression. And it occurs to me that these men who were torturing and abusing, they're not as miserable as we are. That doesn't make any sense now. Hold on. I go to this camp and I'm only here for 8 hours. I don't even have to work hard for that 8 hours. I can go hide and do smoke breaks the whole time. But I'm miserable. I leave work and I go and I drink and I eat whatever I want and I play video games, watch porn, anything that I want to do, and I'm miserable. And you've got toothpaste and a toothbrush and you're stuck in this cage for 24 hours a day and you're happy? I couldn't understand this. I couldn't understand that these men could even get up and pray. You're going to die in Guantanamo. This is it. This is the end of the line. It didn't make any sense to me. And at this point in time, I was a very strong atheist. My studying of religion up until that point had taught me that God is the greatest man killer. More men have died in the name of God than anything else combined. The Christian church and every other church, every religion, it's a bloody empire. And I had a very, just wanted nothing to do with religion at all. But these men, they're happy. I had to ask. I had to find one. Just give me a detainee who speaks English, I'm going to ask him. I find a detainee who's from England, I ask him, how can you get up and pray in this place every day? He tells me that it's just Allah testing his deen. I had no idea what Allah is, what Allah was. What is this? What's deen? I didn't know any of these words. I decided, maybe I'll find another detainee who speaks English. I found a detainee who was from I believe Turkey, and he spoke English well, and I asked him, how do you get up and pray in this place every day? And he tells me that it's just Allah testing his faith. Faith, okay, I get faith. Allah, you guys must think, okay, Allah, God. All right, so I put it together by the second detainee. God, they think that God is testing them. I ask another detainee and another. They tell me about the Sahaba. They tell me about the Ansar. They tell me about the companions. They tell me all these answers. And ultimately, it's the same thing. It's just a test. One detainee even said to me, if this is the worst that you have, bring it on. I can take it. Bring it on. At first, I kind of thought he was a little cocky. You're saying to the individual who's responsible for interrogating and torturing you to bring it on? Really? But then when I thought about it a little bit later, I realized how much confidence he had. He knew that everything was going to be all right. He was fine. He was confident because he had peace. Because he was a Muslim, because he had surrendered to the will of Allah. He didn't care. It was okay. All these men wanted to do was make their 5 prayers. It made no difference if we were mutilating their genitalia or shoving them into coffins for hours on end or allowing military working dogs to bark and chew and it made no difference. As they could make their 5 prayers, they were happy. It was a good day for them. I decided, maybe there's something more to this Islam thing than the army told me about. Maybe there's more to the news had told me about. I can embarrassingly admit, when I arrived in Guantanamo, I knew absolutely nothing about Islam. I grew up in the American system. I went to a school here. All of my schooling in this country, I knew nothing about Islam when I went to Guantanamo. So when you see a religion that gives men the ability to withstand the worst torture and abuse that I can imagine, and they have the power to overcome it and deal with it, I want that. I want that type of confidence. I want that strength, that peace. I want that. But I couldn't reconcile with religion. I couldn't do it. I asked questions, why do you pray that way? Why do you guys pray so much? You wake up, you pray, and then a couple hours later you pray again. Did you forget what you were praying for the first time, and then you remembered it, so you pray again? Yeah. No, that can't be it, because you all do it. Okay, what's that thing on Friday? You guys all get together, you guys speak Arabic, and you guys speak Pashto, and you guys speak Urdu, but you get together on Friday, and you all do that thing in the same language. What's that about? Try to imagine the questions that you would have if you were seeing Islam for the very first time. Try to imagine what it would be like. Try to imagine what it would be like if you were seeing people who took their religion so seriously that it was as vital to them as the air they breathe. And as I would ask these questions, they didn't feel offended. They didn't get angry or upset with me. Nor would they give me dawah. Nor would they tell me, you're kuffar, you're going to burn in the hellfire. You should say your shahada, it'd be good for you if only you knew. They would just answer my questions and go about their day. Eventually, one detainee, he says to me, I want to give you something. And I kind of chuckled. I'm like, what are you going to give me? You got a toothbrush, a toothpaste, and a bar of soap. And he tells me he wants to give me a book, and that if I read this book, it will answer all of my questions. And it'll help me understand where I am in life. It'll help me understand my position, and what I should do, and where I should go. I couldn't resist this. You're going to give me one book that's going to answer all of these questions? Okay, sure, I'll bite. And I look to my right, and I don't see any other guards. I look to my left, and I don't see any other guards. I didn't want anybody to know that I was being given something from a detainee. To talk to a detainee was against the rules. To get a gift from a detainee, I probably would have been locked up, let alone a Quran. And I open the cell door, and he politely hands me the Quran, and I hide it in my back pocket quickly. And we get off of work that night, and I go running up the stairs, I throw it under my bed, and I don't do anything. Go and I shower, and I lay down. And as I'm trying to fall asleep, I started feeling guilty. I started feeling bad. I was thinking to myself that, if I have his Quran, what Quran is he going to read on Friday when they all get together and they do that strange thing that they do on Friday where they all speak the same language and they all pray the same way? It's amazing. What Quran is he going to read on that day? What Quran is he going to read tonight? When you arrive in Guantanamo, they ask you what language you speak. You receive a Quran in that language. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's no Wi-Fi in Guantanamo. So there's no Amazon, there's no Darussalam publications, there's no iPhones, alhamdulillah, no iPhone agreement, you don't have to worry about that business. You get one Quran. If I had his Quran, I felt, maybe I should at least pick it up and read it. And I picked it up and I started reading it. And the next day I got off of work and I came home and I read it. And the day after that I was off and I read it. And the day after that I was off and I finished it. I remember when I finished reading the Quran, I had already read through the Bible and comparative studies of the Torah and the Gospels. I had taken an intro to Christianity. I had a good amount of knowledge about Western religions. I had some knowledge about Eastern religions, Hinduism and Buddhism and Taoism and whatnot. And somehow Islam had always evaded me. I had never heard of it. But when I finished reading the Quran, I remember saying to myself, this is the first time that I've ever read a religious book that makes sense. I mean, from the beginning to the end, it is the most easiest written religious text ever. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to go to a school. Anyone can pick it up and value from it. And I just think, this is amazing. I did not object to anything that I read in it. But I still couldn't reconcile the idea of religion. I decided to try Islam out. I have to be quick. I got 5 minutes left. I decided that I wanted to try Islam out. I wasn't ready to be a Muslim, but I decided I wanted to try it out. What are some problems? I'm an alcoholic, I'm a smoker, I got all these tattoos, and let's change some things. So I tried to scale back my drinking, and the next thing I knew, I wasn't drinking anymore, and I was waking up, and I was thinking clearly, and I was able to deal with what we were doing. I couldn't accept it. I couldn't feel good about myself, but I could rationalize and understand what was happening. And it dawned on me, that's why those Muslims don't drink. You need your brain to be clear. I get it. They got something going there. Don't drink. All right. I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, so I cut it down to 1 pack, and then half a pack. And then I could run faster and do more push-ups and more sit-ups, and I ended up getting another promotion. I get it. That's why those Muslims don't smoke. It's bad for you. Except for the Saudis, the Egyptians, and the Pakistanis, and the Iraqis. That's why those Malaysians, that's why they don't smoke. It's bad for you. One of the questions that I get asked often as a revert is what's hard about becoming a Muslim? Is it hard to give up alcohol or drugs or premarital sex or this, that, and the other? No. The hardest thing for me about becoming a Muslim was saying my Shahada for the first time. I tried Islam out for a couple of weeks. I felt comfortable with it around December. End of December came and I knew that I wanted to be a Muslim, and I found the detainee who gave me the Quran. And I told him, I want to be a Muslim. What do I have to do? Do I need to draw a star and a moon on the ground and light some incense and say a funny prayer? What do I do? How do I become a Muslim? And he very politely turns up and he looks at me and he says, no. I couldn't understand why he would say no. I also couldn't argue with him. In Guantanamo, the army has some strange ideas about what these men can do with soap, toothbrush, and toothpaste. They think that they're capable of escaping from an island and swimming back to Afghanistan. They think that they're capable of building weapons of mass destruction and attacking the United States. Whatever. So I got to walk up and down all day and all night. And it's a little after midnight, and I stop outside of his cell, and I say to him, why would you give me a Quran and then tell me no? Why would you have started me on this road and then tell me no? Is it about the tattoos? I asked some of the I asked some of the detainees, can I be a Muslim and have tattoos? I said, yeah, you're stupid. You'll be forgiven. No more. No more. Khalas. No more. What about being an American? Is it because I'm an American? I asked some of the detainees, can I be an American and be a Muslim? They said, yes. I said, is it because I'm white? I asked some of the detainees, can I be white? They said, yes. Why? Why can't I be a Muslim? What's not good enough about me? And he looks at me and he says, do you realize that you have an American flag on your shoulder? If you become a Muslim, your whole country is going to look at you differently. It says U.S. Army on your chest. The soldiers above you, the soldiers below you, they're all going to look at you differently. I got to question whose side you're on. You got a ring on your finger. Your wife, family, children, they're all going to look at you differently. When you speak, your mouth, these words that you use, this isn't how a Muslim speaks. You have nicotine stains on your fingers. You have all these markings on your body. You think you're a better creator than your creator. When you speak, I can smell what you drank the night before. This is not the way of a Muslim. Do you understand what it means to be a Muslim? Do you understand what you were getting yourself into? He was looking out for my best interests. But I was a 19-year-old. I thought I knew everything in the world. I was like, yeah, I know what I'm getting myself into. I read the Quran twice now. Come on, let's do this. What do I got to do? And he asked me for a pen and a 3x5 card. And in the middle of the night, wearing handcuffs in the dark, he transliterates the Shahada for me. And as he's passing it back through the cell, he tells me, you need to say this card and you need to mean it. And then you will be a Muslim. I couldn't believe it. My jaw dropped. I mean, it was like the Looney Tune cartoons. I know about other religions. I know about the things you have to do to become a part of them. I just say this phrase and I'm a Muslim? That's that easy? I'll give you that card. What's this card say? He tells me, it says, there is no God except for Allah and the Prophet Muhammad is his messenger. Yeah, man, there is no God except for Allah and the Prophet. Arabi. And then I looked at the card and I realized, that's definitely not English. A shadow. Anna? Who's Anna? I didn't read anything about Anna in the Quran. None of you guys ever said anything about Anna. Who's Anna? Oh, Anna. A shadow. Anna. It took me quite a number of times, but eventually, ashhadu anna la ilaha illa Allah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu rasuluh. When his face lit up and the detainee next to him, his face lit up, and they started saying all of these things that ended in Allah, and they were really excited about it. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah. I didn't know what they were saying. I'd only been a Muslim for 4 seconds, but I knew I had said it right at that point. It's time for us to pray. Are we sure? Okay. Alhamdulillah. Good. I thought the 3 o'clock prayer, I'm sorry. So I sat down with the brother. We had a small conversation. He told me about what it would be like when I went home, when I adapted, when I went to my first mosque, when I became a part of the community. And he was pretty accurate about what he said. Some of the advice that he gave me, I feel was critical, and it's things that should be shared with every new Muslim, and it's rather depressing, so we won't get to that right now. I want to fast forward 13 years, as a matter of fact. I have been a Muslim for 13 years. In that time, the population in Guantanamo has dropped from 780 to just under 80. Alhamdulillah. In that time, we have been promised by the president twice that he is going to close Guantanamo. And last month, I believe, he prepared some very awful draft of a plan to not close it, but make it no longer operational. I can't tell you that the president is never going to close Guantanamo. I'm not the president. I'm not Allah. I do not know the future. What I can tell you is that the United States has occupied Guantanamo since 1903. That's 113 years. In 1913, we signed a perpetual lease for $2,000 a year for 46 square miles of land that we can torture and abuse people all day long because it's not under the Geneva Convention or any other rules of war. We have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into expanding Guantanamo. We have tripled the capacity of people that we can hold there since I was there, and we have reduced the workforce necessary to do that by 600%. We have also added 2 state-of-the-art courtrooms, one of them with a closed-circuit television system, so that individuals can testify against the detainees in Guantanamo without having to even fly to the island. Does this sound like a place we are going to close? Do you think any president that might get elected in the near future would close this place? Let's just be real with ourselves. When people don't have a legal voice, they cease to exist. Women were not allowed to vote in this country. I found that incredibly ridiculous, that women were not treated as equals from the get-go. I could understand slaves because I understand the way that this country was formed, unfortunately. But I couldn't understand women. Like, that was just ridiculous to me. So slaves were able to vote, women are able to vote, these are good things. Gays and lesbians. I've never thought in my life that gays and lesbians could be married. Would have never thought about it. Now, not only are gay and lesbians able to get married in this country, a Christian country supposedly, but gay and lesbians are celebrated. They are talked about. They are made into celebrities, even idols. Kids are pretending to have gender disorder in school because that is the popular thing to do, because that's what the Hollywood celebrities are doing. Obviously, we know that this country has some issues and that there are some legal issues that we are going to face, particularly if we try to be the Khalifa that we should be. We have the greatest religion in the world. We have the greatest religion, period. We have the best gift we can be given in this life. Why are we afraid to be Muslims? Why are we afraid to pray in public? Why are we afraid to tell our neighbors? If our neighbors don't know that we are a Muslim, we are only hurting the rest of us. Our co-workers don't know that we are Muslims, we're only hurting the rest of us. If the kids we are going to school with don't know, we're only hurting the rest of us. We have nothing to be ashamed of. It was not dawah that led me to Islam. It was not the Quran that led me to Islam. It was seeing men who were living in the absolute worst conditions imaginable, who could still get up and smile each day, as long as they had their deen. That is what led me to Islam. When you see people who are living Islam the way that it is designed and meant to be lived, you will want to be a Muslim. You will gravitate towards it. You will go to it more than money. You will love it. I'm going to do something a little odd. For those of you who have phones, I know we are in the mosque. If your phone has Google Maps, please pull it out. I know we're in the masjid. It's okay. If you get yelled at, just tell them the guy up front said that I could get my phone out. When you don't have a legal voice, you cease to exist. All these people that I just named made great changes because they established a legal voice. there was a group of people that history has shown us that did not have a legal voice at one point in time, and unfortunately they have been forgotten. I would like anybody in this room to open up Google Maps and find me the country where millions of people are living right now called Palestine on Google Maps. It's an open source platform designed for everybody in the world. Anybody can access Google. Find me Palestine on Google Maps. That's what happens when you do not have a legal voice. That is what genocide sounds like. Silence. As Brother Khalil